晚上好，今天又来陪你睡觉了。今天呢，我要做一期很早以前做的读英语书，不忘初心，而且真的很催眠，我觉得。今天继续来读看不见的城市。我也只带了这本。那话不多说，躺好了，盖好被子，我们开始吧。今天读的是96页的 Cities and Names for Claris, the glorious city, has a tormented history. Several times it decayed, then burgeoned again, always keeping the first Claris as an unparalleled model of every splendor, compared to which the city's present state can only cause more sighs at every fading of the stars. In its centuries of decadence, emptied by plagues, its height reduced by collapsing beams and cornices, and by shifts of the terrain, rusted and stopped up through neglect or lack of maintenance men, the city slowly became populated again as the survivors emerged from the basements and lairs, in hordes swarming like rats, driven by their fury to rummage and gnaw, and yet also to collect and patch like nesting birds. They grabbed everything that could be taken from where it was and put it in another place to serve a different use. Brocade curtains ended up as sheets. In marble funerary urns, they planted basil. Wrought iron grating, torn from harem windows, were used for roasting cat meats on fire in inlaid wood. Gosh, that's terrible, eating cats. Anyway, and put together with odd bits of the useless Claris, a survivor's Claris was taking shape. All huts and hovels, festering sewers, rabbit cages, and yet almost nothing was lost of Claris's former splendor. It was all there, merely arranged in a different order, no less appropriate to the inhabitants' needs than it had been before. The days of poverty were followed by more joyous times. The sumptuous butterfly Claris emerged from the beckered chrysalis Claris. The new abundance made the city overflow with new materials, buildings, and objects. New people flocked in from outside. No one had any connection with the former Claris or Clarises. And the more the new city settled triumphantly into place, and the name of the first Clarice, the more it realized it was moving away from it, destroying it no less rapidly than a rat's and the mold. Despite its pride in its new wealth, the city, at heart, felt itself incongruous, alien, a usurper. And then the shards of the original splendor that had been saved by adapting them to more obscure needs were again shifted. They were now preserved under glass bells, locked in display cases, set on velvet cushions, and not because they might still be used for anything, but because people wanted to reconstruct through them a city of which no one knew anything now. More decadences, more burgeonings have followed one another in Clarice. Populations and customs have changed several times. The name, the site, and the objects hardest to break remain. Each new Clarice, compact as a living body with its smells and its breath, shows off like a gem of what remains of the ancient Clarices, fragmentary and dead. There is no knowing when the Corinthian capitals stood on top of their columns. Only one of them is remembered, since for many years in a chicken run it supported the basket where the hens laid their eggs, and from there it was moved to the Museum of Capitals, in line with other specimens of the collection. The order of the era's succession has been lost. That the first Clarice existed is a widespread belief, but there are no proofs to support it. The capitals could have been in the chicken runs before they were in the temples. The marble urns could have been planted with basil before they were filled with dead bones. Only this is known for sure. A given number of objects is shifted within a given space, at times submerged by a quantity of new objects, at times worn out and not replaced. The role is to shuffle them each time, then try to reassemble them. Perhaps Clarice has always been only a confusion of chipped gimcracks, ill-assorted, obsolete. And that's Clarice, the city Clarice. 还蛮有史诗感的，甚至有点像在讲中国朝代更替的感觉。就是朝代更替嘛，城市的变化，让我想到了西安。Okay. Next. Cities and the dead 28页，如果你们想看的话。No city is more inclined than Eusebia to enjoy life and flee care, and to make the leap from life to death less abrupt. The inhabitants have constructed the identical copy of their city underground. All corpses dried in such a way that the skeleton remains sheathed in yellow skin are carried down there to continue their former activities. And of those activities, it is the carefree moments that take first place. Most of the corpses are seated around Latin tables or placed in dancing positions or made to play little trumpets. But all the trades and professions of the living Eusebia are also at work below ground, or at least those that the living performed with more contentment than irritation. The clockmaker, amid all the stopped clocks of his shop, places his parchment ear against an out-of-tune grandfather clock. A barber, with dry brush, lathers the cheekbones of an actor learning his role, studying the script with hollow sockets. A girl with a laughing skull milks the carcass of a heifer. Heifer is a cow. To be sure, many of the living want a fate after death different from their lot in life. The necropolis is crowded with the big game hunters, mezzo-sopranos, bankers, violinists, duchesses, courtesans, generals, more than the living city ever contained. The job of accompanying the dead down below and arranging them in the desired place is assigned to a confraternity of hooded brothers. No one else has access to Eusebia of the dead, and everything known about it has been learned from them. 就这一批人就掌管着这个，就管理着这个地方，除了他们，其他的没有人见过这个真实。Very interesting. They say that the same confraternity exists among the dead, and that it never fails to lend a hand. The hooded brothers, after death, will perform the same job in the other Eusebia. Rumor has it that some of them are already dead, but continue going up and down. In any case, this confraternity's authority in the Eusebia of the living is vast. They say that every time they go below, they find something changed in the lower Eusebia. The dead make innovations in their city. Not many, but surely the fruit of sober reflection, not passing whims. From one year to the next, they say, the Eusapia of the dead becomes unrecognizable, and the living, to keep up with them, also want to do everything that the hooded brothers tell them about the novelties of the dead. So the Eusapia, the living, has taken to copying its underground's copy. They say that this has not just now begun to happen. Actually, it was the dead who built the upper Eusapia in the image of their city. They said that in the twin cities there is no longer any way of knowing who is alive and who is dead. Oh, I like this one. 一个活的城市和一个死的城市，在地府的。也不知道是哪个城市在发展，哪个城市在学另外一个城市。它一定是一模一样的复制。这个设定很有意思。我感觉写文学作品的，喜欢文学作品的，就 science fiction 或者是那种科幻小说，看这本书可以获得很多灵感。这些城市的概念都好帅啊，太有意思了，非常的就是画面感还挺强的，但它那个画面又很抽象。Yeah. How do you feel right now? 困了吗？我觉得，反正最近就换个话题啊。最近一段时间吧，就不断的体会到身体最重要，真的身体最重要。能有好好的睡觉时间真的很不容易，能好好的睡一觉也是一件非常幸福的事情。希望你能睡得好，身体一切健康，一定要好好休息，一定要好好休息，要照顾身体，好吗？那今天就到这里。Good night. Sleep well. And I'll see you next time. 下次再见。